Welcome to the Stochastic Fiction game. This is a timed writing game where I will create a stochastic fiction outline with this script right here, execute it, output this file, and within this file will give us the stochastic fiction story elements to follow for the next 2 hours as I press this button to write the story and read it aloud at the end. For today's stochastic fiction story elements, and to be written during this time and read aloud at the end, we have setting time past, setting main location boat, conflict person versus destiny, quantity of primary characters mini, point of view first, tense past tense, genre horror, format flash fiction. Those are the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game. Well, I have a boat. I'm on a boat, and I'm facing my destiny. It's first person, so it is an I. So now I got to think of a narrator's voice. It's going to be past tense, which is always hard for me because I like to write in present perfect, and I want to get away from that. Past tense, past time, so during the past. Horror and flash fiction. Well, on a boat. And to be able to properly embody the horror genre, I'm going to have ghosts. I'm not going to be like, we're on a boat and it's sinking. I'd be more action, adventure, love story, conflict. I got to have horror. And for the boat, I can expand that to be a ship, if the story such allows. Technically, there are two different things. I'm not going to call a boat a ship, but I might call a ship a boat, and then probably be told it's a ship by someone who knows boats and ships, as I have been done before and told before. But they were in the United States Navy, and I totally respected their opinion of labeling a ship, not labeling a ship a boat. For now, though, we don't have any sort of critics like that. So this may grow in size for horror. Wow. One of the first things that popped in my mind for this, for a storyline, was the movie Ghostbusters 2 with the Titanic. I think it raised up and then ported again in New York. Like, that was horror. But it was Ghostbusters, so it was with some humor. You could always have the killer on the boat. I'm thinking of some murders, but I don't want an action adventure. I want like pure horror, like really scary. Halloween scary, more scary than Halloween movie scary, rather. Whether it's the movie actually called Halloween or all those movies that, because of marketing and advertisement come out around Halloween time. Like I'm thinking the last thing I wrote on a boat during stochastic fiction game was about an amusement park. What's the conflict? Destiny. Person versus destiny. Fudge. That's never fun. It's one of the few conflicts that annoy me is the destiny. What's my destiny? What, as this character in this horror on a boat, is my destiny? I could do it like what popped in my mind right there. Some sort of migration over the ocean to be able to get to a place that's more free. You feel it's your destiny to be free. That's not going to work out. I need they're a king And this is the past. And the genre is not fantasy, so I can't have them really. Well, I could. There are kings, absolutely kings in this world, so maybe that's it. But I'm not necessarily living in a society that has a king, so it's a little bit more fictional for me. I could lie real well, but maybe not that good. Real good, real well, I don't know. I'm supposed to be a writer and know the difference between those two, and I don't right now. I sort of do, but I don't really care. I gotta move on. I gotta think of a horror, format flash fiction, horror, past tense. And we're first person, so we can start the chase of the suspect. It's on a freaking boat. On a boat. Tense, past tense, genre, format, flash fiction. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, horror, past tense, on a boat. Let's just do it. What's the destiny, though? I could think of stories on a boat. Destiny to be the captain. Destiny to... What the hell is destiny? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up this conflict because I don't want to break it. I certainly having trouble finding an idea for a story on a boat with destiny. So I'm gonna look up conflict story, person versus destiny. I feel like they're gonna give me a king as an example. Here are some examples of person versus destiny. Lord of the Rings, the One Ring. The Matrix, the One. Sisyphus, the One. The Odyssey, the One. A prophecy, a revelation, internal conflict, and the choice to resist. All right, so I gotta have like the king, the one, the ruler, and this is lame. I think this is one of the most lame conflicts that exists. Because it makes an assumption upon destiny. And I guess if you're a person versus destiny on a boat, I don't know. I'm lost at this point. They feel it's their destiny to like go get something that's they need a boat for. Or a ship. We'll say even or a ship. Maybe they're destined. They feel they're destined to be. And does horror can have. I mean, supernatural, sure. It always, you'll get that stamp of horror if you have supernatural horror. In the genre of horror, though, there's always that. You could have the psycho. They're touched with a little bit of, godlike powers to remain alive and hide and fall down on their own knives and somehow still live. But it's a little bit closer. And I wonder if the genre horror. It's one of those words that I always forget the R. To shock or repulse or scare. So some subgenres of horror, the slasher, psychological. Maybe that's going to be a psychological horror. The larger fears of society on a boat. I won't go to supernatural horror because I just don't. I mean, I guess the supernatural horror is always at times can be a way to metaphor, a way to what's parables. I think that's the word I want right now. I could just be making myself sound more like an idiot. Too late, possibly. The psychological horror right here, I think, is going to be. They got to be on a boat. I got to go with what I know, and I got to go with what these rules say. To shudder or bristle, to horror. And some of the movies that are listed in horror or books are, zombies, space. I mean, I guess the sinking boat. That'd be more like person versus nature. 2. Main location on a boat, they're going someplace. They're destined to leave, and they feel like they're destined to go to a place. So let's help me fictionalize that with some truth and thoughts in mind. So one way I could go about that, given the time in life right now, is someone's trying to enter or escape a country via water. That happens every day. The horror would be having somebody watch your boat sink while they don't help you. That's more than just person versus nature. And that would be horror. That would be like the villain right there. You have the person, and the cruiser ship just lets the boat sink and watches it sink and just makes sure it doesn't cross the line. And that's the whole flash fiction story. Are they going to be saved? I don't know. Maybe. They're not. It's a horror story. Everyone dies. How do they die, though? And what's the story? Let's create that. I'm going to start with that. I think that will at least put me at an entry point. I could glean pop culture. I can glean the chaos of our society right now, as well as a little bit of a corruption of the United States of America's soul right now. And have that be the horror. Because it can be, and it will be, and it is. Horror. They're in a boat. I think it's sinking. Where is it sinking to? Maybe it's on its way to Canada. Maybe it's in the Gulf of America. And they're trying to get out of, trying to get to Mexico. Because it's going to happen. Yeah. Setting time past. Setting main location boat. Conflict person versus destiny. Quantity of primary characters, meaning point of view first. Tense, past tense. Genre horror. Format flash fiction. So if I look at the past, that's the one I haven't really considered. If I did it now, it would be present. And, well, I can't use present because the setting time for the story element is in the past. What one mind I had to use the present and sort of put a lot of people there right now would be calling it the Gulf of America. And I had this idea of someone going from Florida across the quote-unquote Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf between Florida and Mexico. And they're sinking, and they're trying to get to Mexico to escape. Well, I mean, to escape the eventual and likely, police state that everyone fears all the time, and now they're going to get their wishes and their dreams. That would be the story I would head toward. Horror. And just lean into that. I can't. It's got to be past. I don't want to make it like yesterday because that's cheating. Presence, I haven't fully defined it. I'm going to define it right now for this, a few years. Maybe like the 90s. I got to remember the 90s. God, I want to remember the 90s. Everybody probably who lived the 90s wants to be in the 90s again. Times were great then. I remember the 90s. I don't want to because they were blissful. Actually, I like now. I like me better now, but the time during the 90s was probably, in many people's minds, as close as utopia we may get. But during that time, you still had homophobia, you still had sexism and racism and hate. It was just under the covers, and it wasn't as well exposed as it is today with the ability for a lot of people to express themselves. But let's not get on that tangent because we're on a boat in the past, going someplace. So in this case, then it'd be a boat from Mexico to Florida. They're going to go across the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to be like how I could then. It's weird, but that's how I would time the pass now in this water. That'd be a good way to do it. So at least puts the reader when they read this, and they're living in the world now because it's an event changing the name of Gulf for one's own ego. It's a pretty historical event. It won't be forgot. Too much data and media on it. So if I went to Gulf of Mexico, it would automatically put in the past and satisfy that setting. Why are they on the boat? Oh, maybe it'd be that. Maybe they are in the Gulf of Mexico, and maybe they are not. Yeah, maybe they're Americans, which has happened in the past, and then they get mistaken for supposedly being like the quote-unquote illegal alien, and then get put to suffer for it when really they're citizens. And then getting in the whole like, how true citizens are they, and how pure is their blood? Yes, that's horror. Okay, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the Gulf of Mexico because it's going to be in the past. I would, if it was present or future, I would put Gulf of America just to like put that into the horror. And since it is past, that will put a location and set up a conflict now in a lot of people's mind. And it's first person. Is it past tense? I think so. It is. So I got to remember that morning. Editing it may help it smell like perfume. I think that's where I want to shoot for in my ranking. I don't know why I said that out loud because I got lost in how to define the Gulf of Mexico in a past tense in this person's voice because I don't know right now. I'm trying to get my out loud thoughts and not wander too much because I can lately. Because there's a lot of stories going into my mind, and this one right here, I really want to capture this voice. If I can do the first sentence, I just want to say how great the Gulf of Mexico is and beautiful it is when the moon reflects from it, glows from it. And waves ripple like a watercolor. Land is far Okay. That is it right there. I think I've at least maintained the goal when the moon glows from it and waves ripple like watercolors. Waves ripple the moon like watercolors. I don't know what that means. I don't care. It sounds neat. It almost puts imagery in my mind. Hour and 39 minutes left to make a story. So the Gulf of Mexico, beautiful when the moon glows from it. So what I'm thinking right now is this is going to sort of start off that way. I I hesitated. This is a flash fiction story, so like it's got to be quick. And typically I fall into a habit with my writing, but also flash fiction stories of having like the story in a short, small time frame, like an event. And that event may take longer in minute times. I'm not going to detail the whole process or action, but at least helps me give a quick solution. Sporting events is a good one, or a game, any game, because you have an end and a beginning. When you deal with the conflict, it gets a little more difficult because now we're dealing with horror. Now we're in the land. So I want to be able to at least start this off near when they start sinking and then have it end when they've sunk. And how much time goes beyond that, I'm not certain. I think someone's going to shoot their boat. It's not going to be the Coast Guard. It is going to be just some, militia, because they're going to be empowered soon in presence. And I just want to capture that concept because that is very not new and not out of the realm of fiction to have happened in the past, even the 90s, early 2000s. People are that cruel. Bring us together. Tell a gunshot. Till someone fires a gun. It had to have been. What is it? I'm going to go. The gun I know the best. let's maybe look for a different one. I was going to go 30-06. I like the range. I grew up in a household that had a 30-06. I've seen the 30-06 fire during the morning and the flashbang come from the outside of it. I've never fired the 30-06 though. It's way too young. And I was happy with 22s, I suppose. I didn't really need the full-fledged kickback, and I just wanted to shoot because shooting is fun. I'm not saying at things like living things, but at things, yes, to have target practice. I've never felt so much, I don't know, control, fake as it was, power, adrenaline of firing a machine gun for the first and only time at a range in Vegas. Anyway, let's make this a 30-06 before I get lost in talking about guns. Because I can. I'm fascinated with them. 30-06. And I don't know if I think it's... let's just write it out. 30-06. I think it's aught. That's aught not. Or is that aught the number? I gotta look up. Well, the search and return is aught versus aught. Ought to do anything. Aught with an O. What is aught? 0, none, aught. Okay, 30-06. Yes, I'm gonna go with that. All right, it had been. No, I had been. And that's one thing that's hard about writing something so quick when I go back and read it. Like I miss a T like that, all of a sudden I'm reading I. It had been. It had to be. Had to. Had to. I like the present perfect past as if this person is talking. Now I got to think this person's voice. And I want to make it not like mine, which is going to be hard to do in such a short time without a lot of thought and not understanding fully who this person is. Because once that clicks, it becomes a little bit easier if you do it enough. And you listen to a lot, like thousands of thousands speak, and you record it and you read over it just to get an understanding of how interaction happens. Until someone fired a gun. Had to be a 30-06 by the flash of the night. Had to have been. Had to have been. Had to have been a 30-06, judging from the flash in the night. Yeah. Until someone fired a gun, it had to have been a 30-06, judging from the flash in the night. Comma. I want to have like a little pause. My mind got right there, oddly, when I went silent. It went off on some weird tangent thinking about vectorized data and context and how if that gunfire in the 30-aughts, and how much data size it would be. So let me talk out loud, because for some reason my mind's slipping a little bit away from the story, which is a hell of a lot more compelling than vectorizing data and thinking of dense context in it. So sorry for that tangent. I need to say it out loud to get it out. So until someone fired a gun, it had to have been a 30-06, judging from the flash in the night. Big boat off. I want to make this person like ex-military. I think there's a term. I mean, I'm only using this from like war films. I think clicks was like a measurement of distance. I don't even know what that means. Like I haven't experienced it in real life enough to have like this thing. So what is a click and measurement? A click is a military term used to describe a distance of 1 kilometer. Okay. Wow. Way to go, kilometers. I did not know that. And it's with a capital K. Wow. I should have known that. I feel like I heard that enough, like Vietnam movies and Desert Storm movies, to have actually looked that up. And maybe I once upon a time knew, but I didn't. I would have remembered this. I don't know if it's 30 clicks, about 3 clicks from a fishing spot. That small boat. Then the spotlight hit. Smearing any sense of a watercolor. Bright too. until someone fires a gun. Let's start with that. That will be boom. That's like the voiceover until the action starts. I don't know, but it leads into the action here. So we've set up the most of the scene. They're in the Gulf of Mexico. It's the past because it's still called the Gulf of Mexico by everybody in the United States of America, as well as most of the world, or all the world. I'm not going to say all the world, but most of the world I'm aware of does, if not all of it, had. So this will give it some sense of time. This person is in the military, going to use clicks. This person's going to have to know how to fix a boat. So there'll be some attempt at that, and they'll fix it, and then it'll get shot again. I'm too bright. It's showing a hole in the bottom, in the side, and in the bottom, between from our fishing spot, that boat. Would you go in the water if you had some sort of concept of training and you're on a small boat? It's not going to be a ship. It's just going to be another big boat. This is the horror. Where all you got, you may have a gun on you, but if they got range and a rifle, it's harder to shoot a thing with a pistol than it is a set rifle at a distance. Especially, what are they going to do? Stand in the boat that's rocking right now and shoot a pistol? They're good, but you'd have to be really good to be able to then actually hit things in the night as well. And then assuming it's got the same sort of range, they don't. So yeah, 6 is going to go further. So you ain't going to fire back because they got advantage on you. And then they throw the spotlight out. I know what they're going to do it though. Boat began to move our way. Made sure. Spotlight. They're going to act first with the spotlight. Shot back. Our spotlight. Shot blinded there. From Tim and me. We had our pistols. What kind of pistol do they have? They're in the water. I think they got 6-shooters. Yeah. It would set it back a little bit more too, but less likely to jam. If you can't put down a thing in 6 shots, you should learn how to shoot. Or run instead and use it as an escape. 15 more chance to jam if it gets wet. They're old-fashioned. It's going to be more than just a 38. I'm going to walk around just a 38, like a stub nose 45, something like that. It's going to be a revolver. Let me look this up real quick. So revolver, 45, stub nosed. Ooh, yeah. Oh, hells yes. What they do the long, right? Because if you do the long barrel 45, at least it'd go a little bit. Stub nose is more if you're in 45 long Colts. I think so. Is that maybe? Colt 45. Yeah, absolutely. I say yes. He's the type of man that would have a Colt 45 on him. 6-shooter, because low jam. And they know how to fire the thing, at least. I don't know if the accuracy is great, but they're gonna spend some money. I'm looking at Colt 45s right now. They're up in 1,000s range. Ooh, I like that one. The Carter Arms Bill Dog 45 long Colt 2. Wow. That's handy. You could fit that thing in your pocket. All right, so let's get off of this. They are absolutely going to have Colt 45s on them. The safety chamber was full. Because I think it's like to legally, if I remember right, and this was years ago, back around the 90s and 80s, I had asked my father, who had guns, at some point during life, and it seemed to be true. Well, he wasn't one to bullshit. That they suggested safety-wise and for legality-wise that I think it was you stored a loaded handgun for safety. They always say and it's a revolver, is leave the first 2 chambers empty, one for accident and one for safety. I can't, I'm going to make that comment here because I think it was called the safety chamber. I'm going to say that there is such a thing. Whether my memories are inventing this to make me feel better about creating some concept, I think this has been would be a concept back in the day. Now it doesn't matter, man. Go buy your AR-15 and shoot up people. Just aim at the ones that are in control and in power. You'll probably get away with it these days, unfortunately. And if you're not one of those people like me, go buy guns and bullets. Learn to shoot. So we had our Colts loaded, even the safety chamber, and then you're going to find once it hits the military, it doesn't really matter. That's going to be the interesting part. In this case, too, like they're going to be overpowered, overgunned, and the horror of that. So we even had our Colts loaded, even the safety chambers. It could get wet a little bit, so we went in the water. Shooting blindly in the night. At night, we knew our revolvers could get a little wet. And I think that's true. I'm going to look that up real quick and, see if they, can a revolver get wet and still fire? I think they can. They just have low jam because there's fewer moving parts. Okay. And this one, though, so this is going to be a well-made revolver. And that ain't true for all, because they have such a low jam possibility because they have fewer mechanisms to be able to fire. So that would be a true statement. We knew our revolvers could get. We knew our revolvers get a little wet. Both splashed in. Maybe I don't need this sentence right here. Someone shouted. Oh, I see the horror in this. Yeah. Because you would. My God, I think they grabbed a vest. Because then at least with the vest, you could sort of somehow make yourself buoyant while you're floating in water. We had a vest on. Splashed in. No bullet shot. Water was cold. Jacked at that point. My rage was lifting me. Maybe the horror is on them. Maybe they do leave. But this, I guess, would be horror. Tim and I have breath holding Something we did from training. And our knives. All right, so this is where the rage goes. The horror. Who's good? I don't know. I wasn't planning on having like the victims be this sort of well equipped and reactionary. But for some reason it turned out. So this sounds, this is horror. I don't know. Like it's turned into action adventure. Because there's now the potential that there's the antagonist is in horror typically. I mean, you got to end it with the antagonist winning because you want to continue the horror on. You got to have true horror never ends, or you have that some sense of while there was victory, there was a loss. Oh, that's the horror. It never ends. If horror ends, then it's just a bad time and not necessarily horror. With that in mind, and that criteria, and we got an hour and 13 minutes left, at least according to this clock right here. Can I get that a little brighter? I can. I need to maybe not give him SEAL training. Since the Navy. Why am I going to make him that, like... Maybe I can allude to it. And in present perf, we've done... But if they were in the Navy, supposedly, then they could probably fire from a boat. You wouldn't want to. You can't fire blind into the. Like my first reaction, and I'm not trained, would be if I had a vest on and I had my gear to have action. I'd get in the water, and then put your head behind the boat, like. Met in the shadows of the boat. Our boat. Then their spotlight. I'm going to try to use this sentence again. I was going to remove it because it kind of doesn't need it anymore. Right to cast over the boat. The boat was sinking. It was taking on water. Bullet holes. Then their spotlight smearing any water painting of the moon. Too bright to cast over the boat. Bullet holes. It shined through bullet holes. boat's bottom. What type of like boats? Boats. I don't know different types of boats well enough to fictionalize them because now everything's a boat. I mean, they're boats, but are there like pontoon boats? Are they going to be like, I don't have a classification, and it can be like a brand name. So like I think the two boats I have in mind, pontoon is not a pontoon boat. No, not recreation. No. This is just a fishing boat. What if I type in fishing boat? What's going to be the thing? Because most people, like I'm, likely not been fishing in a boat. So if I fishing boat, aluminum fishing boat. Would you be that far? Why not? That's what you can afford. That's what you're used to. Why not? You don't need the big boats. Like, that's the next thing. Like, I think it's just going to be a fishing boat. And then the other one's going to, I'll classify it like a yacht. A yacht. Yeah. I always spell yacht wrong. I just spelled it with a G and not a C. It's not going to be a yacht, though. Bass fishing boat. Cruiser boat. Like, what are the different types of boats? A cruiser boat. There we go. This will be a cruiser boat. And that seems to be a thing. Wow, I love it. This is a cruiser boat. Okay, fishing boat, cruiser boat. So I'm going to go back into the story and put that in there, and let's define these boats. Because there are two different types. A big cruiser boat. I think that's how you spell I need an I. That cruiser boat. And this will just be the fishing boat. So we had our Colts loaded, even the safety chambers, shooting blind at a distant at night. We knew our revolvers get a little wet and our knives sheathed on thighs. We had our vests on. We both splashed in, both zipped by, hit our fishing boat. I mean, in horror you lose, though. That's the horror. Or there's a sequel where you bring the evil person back and you thought they were dead, but not really. Horror never resolves itself. So what does that mean if I have now these two able people, older maybe, fight back? And what am I going to have them do? This could be a long, drawn out thing. One has to die. I think that's it. And I got to make this a flash fiction story. Because I feel like I can think of so many conversations to have between the antagonists and the protagonists right now as the boats surround, and I got to summarize it because this is a flash fiction story. That's difficult. I want to write it all out. But there's no time. There's an hour and 4 minutes left, and something I have to have time to read, and blah, blah, blah. Talk doesn't write. So something we've did since Navy days, we bolt in the shadows of our boat. I was getting heavy with water. Was getting weighted with water. Tim shouted. The other boat, so the cruiser boat. The cruiser boat got low. As the cruiser boat trolled close, I'll have someone shout, talk back. That's the horror. So, how does this end? One's going to have to die. It's going to have to be Tim, because Tim's not telling the story. Unless this could be the ghost and they're haunting. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is like the ghost that will ever forever haunt. Tim will get away. Okay, and I got to figure this out in an hour and 2 minutes of how to do this in a flash fiction story. I think is what I'll have to have. It's like what's manifesting in mind right now with having the narrator become a ghost. That's how they're telling the story. It'll add that element of horror, supernatural. What was the conflict again? Destiny. Fudge. I totally forgot about that. What's their destiny, to fish? Oh, fuck. That's terrible. How am I going to fit destiny into the story? Besides if it was like some metaphor in our destiny to... I don't know. Try to be revolutionaries in a world that doesn't need necessarily that type of revolution anymore. With leading with guns and acts of violence and different ways to attack. It's crazy. Got to get over it, people. For this, I don't know. What's their destiny? Their destiny is to catch a fish, like any fishing trip. Man, our destiny today. Destiny is destiny. I don't know. That ruined my whole plot that I had going here with things I've written. I got to include destiny into this. I got boat. I got mini. I got first. I got past tense. I got horror. I got flash fiction. I got past. I don't have destiny. That sucks. I got an hour though. Destiny. How can this be destiny? I mean, lower the score. If I were to tell someone this is about destiny, they'd laugh at me right now, and they'd rightfully so. This is not destiny. This is person versus person, person versus society. It can, if I go supernatural, which is, I'm gonna do that, and I'd have to have a much larger story to set this up to be destiny. Fuck, man. Because I'm thinking destiny could be they were destined to become a ghost to haunt racists. I guess it's destiny that you're just gonna be shot at all the time. Yeah. The water was cold, but I was so jacked. My rage kept me floating, kept me afloat. Okay, so these I gotta think of destiny. That could be it. That could be it. I think the destiny could be in their bond. Okay. Having never experienced being a soldier and being in war, and I've experienced some connection on sporting teams and that sort of shared goal, but there's a little, I'm going to assume, and it's not a big assumption, very easy to understand, that if you're with a group of people and you're getting shot at or people are trying to kill you, you're going to bond with them. Or you're not going to live. And if you don't bond with them, then you're going to remember that conflict. Either way, there's going to be some connection there. And I've read stories with those connections about when one soldier gets shot or killed, another one will do some act to show their connection, like dressing up in a skirt as someone they had combat with died, to show appreciation of the craziness they're going to do, so they just can find some sort of solace or connection in the end. That to me could set up a destiny. And this person gets haunted, and that's the destiny is. Is that going to be that bond? And I don't know because I don't have any experience with it. I don't know if I can do it well within not only the amount of words of a flash fiction story, but even if I were to write a book about it, it would have to be very like a smaller event in a larger fiction that I created to seem like it actually wasn't shit when written. So this may become bad, because that's the destiny that I can think of as like the bonds and promises of actions to do after death that were typically applied for that wartime, and maybe even later in life. And this would be one of those later in life, to make it sort of a destiny with that bond. And because this is horror, we'll bring in that spiritual aspect of what's the bond, and how can I write that 2 sentences? I can't. I fail, but I will try. All that said, so we load out our Colts and our safety. I think this is the moment of death, the moment where they're getting shot. There's some calm right now. Remember our bond, I said. I don't want to like do exposition, like have the narrator. Well, I guess the narrator could, right? One paragraph. And in the Navy days, we had a bond. Okay. Yes, I put it right here. Mention it in dialogue. We also did. Why would they? It wouldn't be the same. Well, you're in battle still. I mean, you're on a boat. The thing goes down. You better be liking the water. I mean, that's the scary part, I suppose, having never experienced it. And I guess it's a different sort of fright, knowing that while you're less likely to get ambushed, the battlefield you're protecting is floating on a body of water, and if the thing goes down, you can't like just run to more land. Not discrediting or increasing injury, but that'd be the additional, in my mind, scary as hell. Something we also did was promise to hunt any person or shark. Took one of us. Okay. I don't want to haunt these. Are they going to pull their gun? They're going to have their gun in their hand. I mean, would you though? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. If I had my gun holstered, clipped in, no, it wasn't going to get loose or dropped out. I've never been in a live combat situation, and I've never been trained for it either. So I at least have time to think that if I were live in a situation like anything, plan goes out the door. You got to rely upon instincts and training to make it an instinct. They are old, so their instincts are a little bit more slow. They're not trained as well. But you'd keep your hands free, especially if you wanted to swim, knowing everything else is latched down. You're only going to pull your weapon when you're going to use it. There's no sense in holding it right now. It's only preventing you from not waiting right. And they're going to have to go back under. Now I got to think about how they're going to die. I got 51 minutes to do that. 51 minutes, and I'm almost out of coffee and almost out of water. I may have to go take a coffee break. And get more water so my voice doesn't sound so gurgly at the end, because it will. Let's think of how are they gonna die? Like Tim, I think they're gonna be forced to swim back to the coast. And they make it. One. The other drowns. And they take their... Yeah. And maybe it's all going to be finished on the boat. That's what's going to happen. And you won't know it. I think so. I'm going to go get coffee. in more water. And I'll be right back. And thinking, how will one of these two characters die? The primary one, who I think we determined will be the ghost. How do they die? What's the next action? How to make it seem as if they're still alive too. Back with coffee and water. And no more thoughts about this story. I disconnected pretty quickly and started thinking about vectorized data. Joy, oh joy. Let's think about this story and let's get it back loaded into my mind, because I remember we were at one point wondering who's going to die and who's going to be able to be chased down in a ghost form to make it like this true horror. Both sides get the effect of it. Person versus destiny. I think I set the destiny up finally. So for the story elements of setting time past, I think we're there with the past. Even got a way to set it up that it's in the past by calling it the Gulf of Mexico. Setting main location, boat. There are definitely boats in this. Person versus destiny for the story element of the conflict. Yeah, I mean, I guess now I don't know that. Don't think I hit that one yet. Maybe a little bit. I'll rate it at the end. We'll see if I can change the story just a little bit to make it seem this pact between two characters is a thing of destiny, but it's not the creator, is the result of another conflict. The initial conflict is not. Yeah, I'm just going to say there's a little bit of destiny in there. I don't want to get hung up on it too much. Quantity of primary characters, many, yes, there's two, and then there's the antagonists that hold a big responsibility and will play a decent role in the end. Someone will die. So the point of view is first the past tense horror, and then there's flash fiction. So that's the format and how long this is going to be in the genre horror. Past tense, I think I've got in point of view first. I got a narrator. They're kind of a boring voice. I hope they don't sound too flat. They might. But for now, they're fantastic because at least they have a voice, and I need to think of how one of these two die. I'll reread this paragraph here, and then I'm going to read to where I stopped. So that water was cold, but I was so jacked at that point. I was so jacked, my rage kept me afloat. We both slipped out of our vests and sank our heads. Tim and I have holding breath contest, something we did since Navy days. Something we ousted was promised to haunt any person or sharks that took one of us. We both met in the shadows if our ship went down. Ooh, that's where I can name drop ship. It took one of us after our ship went down. And it's a difference. So I got 3 different sizes of boats. Got a ship. I got a fishing boat. I got a cruiser boat. I'll put fishing boat. So I'm going to name drop the fishing boat here. Because that's what they're doing. Further emphasis. Tim shouted, "Where Americans fishing?" Kind of exclamation, flat tone, serious. I don't want to hunt these people. What would you do? I mean, maybe swim and hide away. That's all you could do at that point. If you're getting shot at, they're coming closer. Another bullet shot, start swimming, they said. You'd split up. Why would you stick together? Would you stick together? Yeah, you'd split up. If there's one boat, I would. I mean, I think a split. I could only. Tim was right. Would you flip the boat, put it over your head, it'd still get shot through. But they wouldn't know if you were there. Dump the gear, doesn't matter. You have what you have on you. And it could even be thought to be a distraction. And it wouldn't take on more water. Flip the boat. Tim nodded. I said, let's flip. We kicked ourselves out of the water. And flipped that boat. All my dad's tackle box. The bait my son. Littered the ocean. Emptied the water from the boat. Another shot. No, I wouldn't shoot again. Like, now they're just going to... under the boat in quick breath. But another quick breath. I said, I don't want to haunt these people. Split. I nodded. See you ashore. We swam. They seen my ripples. I did splash coming up. The boat neared. The spotlight is on me. Keep swimming the other way. And we won't shoot you, said someone. Someone on that cruiser. I'll tread water, said to the light. Not my country. Sure. You figure it out. And then some undermined spoke of the night. I think this is the end. This is nearing the end. And rightfully the splitting up. How do you have the reveal? Like, I got to do it soon. Like, I got a paragraph of the swim, the death, the revenge, done. I got 30 minutes to do that. It's possible. Try to argue. I swam until. How far would that be? Let's go. What's the distance from Florida to Mexico in the Gulf? Just call it the Gulf. I want to go through, though. It's a long ways, man. They would die. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, man, that's cruel. Get rid of the evidence, too. That's horror. It's thousands of miles away. A burp. Then a slurred. Better get swimming. What is the rifle pin? A burp, then a slurred. Better get swimming before the arms get tired. The rifle cock answered my questions of. Maybe it's Tim. I think so. I think the narrator will live, not because they're the ghost, and then I will have yet less to figure out. Tim dies. Yeah. My arms hurt. how am I got 29 minutes? So I'm pretty sure I have the end. Tim's the one that's gonna. And the Destiny, I don't. I'm still like there's a little bit of Destiny on here, but the primary conflict is not Destiny necessarily. See, until someone fired a gun. It had it been from there, 30-06. Like he knows. Tim nodded would be one action. I don't want to give him the details. Details are for the novel, not the flash fiction story. At least that depth of a detail. I'd have to do a lot more reading to also start to place the time and when they were both in action together, because else it just seemed bad. A burp, then a slurred. Better get. Someone burped and slurred. Mavicon asked my questions. And it distracted them from Tim. So I swam. A good bit. And they trolled behind. Not hearing much. Like, get me a beer. Must have been about, how many? 24 clicks. Floor kick. Cramping. And I knew I could break. I think they're going to swim the circle. So I swam. They trolled behind, not talking much. And obviously not paying attention. And couldn't navigate. I swam a circle. About a 2-click circle. Back to the shore. That was near. I seen the silhouette of the shore. I think they realize it. They start shooting, and he knows he needs to go under. So he turns them around, swimming in the boat, because they've been in the Navy and they can actually have some sense of stars, direction at night, and they're not on a boat doing a stupid thing. They're drunk. The other people in the cruiser. Waiting to when I... The shot. Let me know. I went under. But then my body all cramped. I came up. Thought for certain. I think I have a story. The spotlight pointed where I was. I swam around a bit. Wasn't too long. I knew I needed to get out of the water. We're out of the water. If not shot. It was about too long. Wasn't about too long. Wasn't too long. Not about. This person would not say about. They get out of the water if not shot. Even if shot. Poked my head out near the boat ladder. Listened the longest time. Hearing nothing. Climbed real slow. Seems to be lying on the deck. I froze. See a gun. 30-06. Grabbed it. And one of them I shine enough to show faces. All open. Eyes wide like fright. I thought Tim. And all I could. I don't hate this story. It's done. Yeah. Let's leave it at that, and let's not try to ruin it with more words at this time. Although the words that I have may have ruined it already. So be it. They've been written at least. And with 15 minutes left, at least on this clock right here, I'm going to read. I need a name. What's the name of this story? Would be I don't know. The Gulf, the Bond, Beyond the Grave. Death Pact? No. Fishing. Gulf of America. It'll be in the past. And then that will make it have meaning. Yeah, let's do it. That's the story title. Horror flash fiction. It's kind of horrific on both sides. I got supernatural. I got the possibility of a specter that's going to go out and hunt people. Let's read this aloud and be done, and I'll rate it and move on with other thoughts. Hopefully, and I'm focusing on those thoughts to be of togetherness, understanding, and love. And I don't say that in a... it comes from the soul. And this soul right now needs to be able to read this story so it can move on and try to exist through this life. Make people smile and not frown all the time. So this story is to make you fright because it's a horror story. Called The Gulf of America. The Gulf of America. Gulf of Mexico is beautiful when the moon glows from it and waves ripple the moon like watercolors. The land bends over the horizon and the water brings us together until someone fired a gun. It had to been from their 30-06, judging from the flash in the night. Big cruiser boat about 3 clicks from our fishing spot. That cruiser boat began to move our way, and I made sure our spotlight shot blind them from me and Tim. We had our Colts loaded, even the safety chambers. Shooting blind at a distance at night. We knew our rowers could get a little wet, and our knife sheaths on our thighs. We had our vests on. So we splashed into the water as another boat zipped past. One shot into the fishing boat. Someone shouted, "Go back to your country, Mexicans!" That water was cold, but I was so jacked my rage kept me afloat. We both slipped out of our vests and sank our heads, Tim and I holding breath, test. Something we'd done since Navy days. Something we ousted was promised to haunt any person or shark that took one of us after our ship went down. We both met in the shadows of a fishing boat, and that was getting heavy with water. I said, "Let's flip the boat." Tim nodded while shouting, "We're Americans fishing." We kicked ourselves out of the water and flipped that boat. My dad's tackle box and the bait my daughter gave me littered the ocean. Emptied the water from the boat. Under the boat, quick breath, I said, "I don't want to hunt these people. Let's split." I nodded. Tim always the calm and the leader, having saved me once. "See you ashore," Tim said. Then the cruiser boat spotlights smeared any water painting of the moon too bright, cast over the boat. It shined through the bolt holes and shone water. As the cruiser boat trolled close, I shouted back, "Time to swim back." A voice shouted back, "Time to swim back." We swam apart. I didn't splash a bit for the first time I came for air, but the second I did. A bullet hit near the boat. The spotlight was just on me. "Keep swimming the other way and we won't shoot you," said someone on the cruiser boat. I tread water, said to the light, "That's not my country." "You can figure it out when you get back and go the other way to Mexico," spoke the night. "It's over 1,000 miles. Someone burped and slurred, "Better get swimming before those arms get tired of treading." The rifle cocked any answer to any question. And it's a distraction for Tim, I thought. So I swam. And they trolled behind, not talking, but saying something like, "Gotta get a beer," or burping. And obviously not paying attention and couldn't navigate that well with the stars. I swam about 2 clicks and curved back toward the floor to shore. It must have been about 4 clicks when my ankle got cramped. And by that time, I seen the silhouette of Shout through in my shadow. I was waiting to when I could swim under and hold my breath to make it to shore. The shot let me know with the shout of, "He thinks he's a smart Mexican." I went under and thought of Tim in the breathing contest while swimming, but my body cramped. It had been a bit since we'd been in the Navy together, and I came up. Thought for certain they'd be shooting, but the boat was about a pistol shot from me like it. It stopped when I went under, the spotlight pointing where I was at. Swam around the cruiser looking for silhouettes and trying to hear for cans or talk. It was too long until I knew I needed to get out of the water, even if shot. Poked my head out near the boat ladder, listened for the longest time, hearing nothing. Climbed slow to the side and seen 3 bodies laying on the deck. I froze. Seeing that 30-06 was in one of the hands. The light shined enough to show their faces all open and eyes wide like fright. And all I could think of was, what was I going to tell Tim's wife about his murder? Well, that was the Stochastic Fiction game for today. That was the story Gulf of America. And as the story concludes, I want to make sure that we have some sort of record of the things that we create so they don't get erased. And with that story complete, I will rate it. Jumped ahead. I like it. I'll go with a 3 out of 4. It'll at least make me feel good for about a half hour, and then it'll just be another story. Well, something that took me away for a few minutes. And maybe someday will influence some sort of, well, coming together. That's what I'll try to write next. Hopefully, nonfiction reality will help me create the fiction and inspire that fiction to be.